Well, this really is Good News Tuesday. And Tesla moved counter to the market today with some large orders, apparently pushing the stock up early, and then it just kept on going, closing up $10.64, closing on its high, and then continuing to run up in the after hours, almost another $2 last time I checked. And of course, later on in the show, we'll check that and see where we are as we get closer to the end of the day. Now, I don't know, but to me, this suggests that we could have a continuation of the rally tomorrow. And maybe you would call this FOMO. Now, I've been talking about FOMO for a week. I know, well, like Elon, I made the prediction. I'm just late. The FOMO might be driven by a lot of news articles happening right now, especially in the financial news, and they're mostly positive about the upcoming Cybertruck handover on Thursday. The mood is also good in the market right now, with bond yields still dropping and equities still going up. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit like. You need to do that to help the algorithm. By the way, the show is doing really, really, really well this month, up significantly over last month. Keep up the good work. Thank you all for being a part of it. And then hit subscribe and notify. And of course, we had Jeff. We were hoping for Jeff Lutz to be on tonight, but our schedules, we just couldn't make it work. But starting next week, he will be a regular on Wednesday night whenever possible. There may be some times when he can't, but he's going to try every Wednesday night to be on. And then on Thursday, we're going to have Brad Ferguson this Thursday, and he'll be a regular co-host for the Thursday Good Night Show. Earlier today, Brian White, our regular for Monday and Tuesday, at the noon hour, Brian did a show earlier today, blew the socks off the numbers, and he was talking about some ideas of what might be happening, and demos and that kind of stuff this Thursday. And I also asked you all to come up with your own ideas about what kind of demos might be happening this Thursday. What are the kinds of special things might we be looking for? And I saw in the comments, we got a bunch of those. So I might spend tomorrow, the noon hour show, I might do that around your suggestions for that time. Remember, of course, if you haven't, I can't even reach it. I did get my order in finally today. The U.S. Post Office was completely confused, but the order came in today. So all of your orders are going to be going out tomorrow. Well, I think all of them. I'm not sure I have quite enough in that order to ship every single one of them, but then I'll get another order in next Monday, and I'll get all the balance. Those of you who've only ordered the last day or two, you might not see yours going out until then. By the way, I'm also getting a lot of orders on Amazon. I'm suspecting that maybe some of you are going to Amazon because it's easier. And so you can just go on Amazon and look it up and send your order in that way if you choose to. It is more expensive that way. We're back, of course, to the $25 for one, $45 for two, $65 for three. And then if you get into the 10s and 20s, all that information is below in the description, as well as where to send the money. And remember also to mention camo or stainless, and to add an extra $20. No matter how many you're buying, add an extra $20 if you are outside the United States. All right. I was beginning to think the FOMO wasn't even going to happen, and I was going to be wrong again. I hate to be wrong. And there's no telling, that now that the FOMO has started, there's no telling where it will stop, and there'll be some profit taking. That could happen tomorrow, or it could happen the next day. It could happen Thursday. We could begin to see profit taking on Thursday, depending on how much the run-up is. The more the run-up before the event, the more likely there is to be some pairing off, some profit taking, and or some folks that are going to be going to be disappointed on Thursday. So that is going to be the key. The key here will probably continue. I think will continue to run up going into Thursday morning. And then Tesla has this habit, this history of running up prior to an event and then selling off after. I know you guys already know about that, right? However, this is not because people are selling on the news. That can happen, but that's not what has been happening. It has almost always been because the folks there's missed expectations. Missed expectations are actually some kind of momentum killing flub. You haven't ever seen one of those, have you? At a Tesla event or a Tesla earnings call? Anyway, we haven't seen an event recently, not one that I can remember, where there hasn't been some good reason to sell off after the event, at least if you stood back and saw it as an outsider, as opposed to somebody who's in the community. We in the community understand Elon. We understand some of the ways he talks and the things that he says. And we go, well, that's perfectly right. Yeah, why wouldn't that be true? And the investment community that's not paying as much attention, they're like, oh no, what did he just say? So anyway, we can always see those things happening. So price could be one of the issues that we'll be surprised on. Range is another one. We could be surprised on that on a positive or a negative side. Maybe there will be some kind of mistake when it comes to a demonstration. Maybe throwing some kind of an object at the window, and I don't know. Maybe they'll shoot at the car and one of the bullets will go through. I don't know. But everything could go smooth. And if the event matches expectations, then the stock could still sell off based on matched expectations, and that would be selling on the news. Now, what if there's no flubs and some aspects or surprises beat expectations, and or if there are momentum builders immediately after, similar to those amazing YouTube reviews that we saw after the Model 3 shipment started? Well, that could get us heading towards 300. We're not that far away. Also, depending on the market. Thursday, we're going to have the PCE, and so that could affect the overall attitude of the market, which could also keep Tesla from continuing on this trajectory. Anyway, historically, I'm expecting a little bit of a sell-off on Thursday into Friday, and then I think there will be videos and such that will turn the stock towards green in the weeks ahead, and we will also get more and more information about the year-end numbers. And if there's no more price cutting, we'll start to be thinking higher margins. Well, even now, higher margins are pretty much baked in because we haven't had any price cutting and we've had some price increases. So I think it's going to be looking good. So one of the reasons is because Tesla is getting excellent business press coverage of the Cybertruck event on Thursday. From Market Watch, Tesla stores across the U.S. have displayed Cybertrucks over the weekend, drawing crowds, and the trucks seem to be creating a buzz as the company aims for a halo effect to be created by the vehicle. Deutsche Bank analyst Emmanuel Rosner said in a note Tuesday, Tesla shares rose nearly 3% on Tuesday, looking poised to notch a third straight day of gains and up nearly 21% so far in November, and that compares with gains of about 9% for the S&P index in the same period. Tom Narian at RBC Capital Markets also spoke about a halo effect from the Cybertruck sales. The start of the Cybertruck sales could help to reinvigorate the brand and by extension help Tesla to sell more Model 3 small sedans and Model Y compact SUVs and support the stock, the analyst said. We expect conversion rates to be at or below the Model 3 conversion rates, but that is still enough for a few years worth of demand at Tesla's planned annual production of about 250,000, Narayan said. He added that the Cybertruck is a polarizing product, not only in terms of its angular, futuristic design, but also in terms of practicality, because it's much larger than best-selling trucks. Really? No, it's not. It's actually the same size, or around the same size as the best-selling trucks, and will fit in my garage, and it's a regular, normal-sized garage. We are reminded that the Dodge Viper, which was a low-volume model for Chrysler decades ago that many believed helped to reinvigorate the Chrysler brand, Narayan said. Yeah, except the difference is going to be, it's going to reinvigorate the brand, and it's also going to sell 500,000 or more units a year. Anyway, Wedbush analyst Dan Ives says, this is another historical moment for Tesla and Musk with the Cybertruck unveil, as the street is excited to see the formal vehicle launch featuring the dual motor trim and its top-level tri-motor all-wheel drive performance model, along with updates regarding production and scaling of the Cybertruck platform, which is expected to be about 250,000 a year by full year 2025. It is very likely that many investors are just not aware yet. This is Randy speaking now. And this awareness from these articles and appearances by folks on CNBC may have started the money flow into the stock today. There was also good China numbers, good numbers coming in from China overnight. That couldn't hurt. Elon's trip didn't hurt. There was almost zero negative news about his trip to Israel and some reasonably positive news about that as well. Now then, we switch to this. Automotive News is reporting that nearly 4,000 U.S. dealerships sent a letter to the Biden administration asking him to slow down on the push to go EV, while citing an EPA proposal that would see 60% battery-powered cars by 2030 and 67% by 2032. So I want to let those dealers know, the 4,000 US dealers, I want to let them know it's not going to be only 60% by 2030 or 67 by 2032. It's going to be a lot more than that, and they better get used to it. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen here. If I can, you know me, I can't share my screen to save my life. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure it out this time either. There's got to be a reason why I'm not getting this right. Oops. Here we go. Oh, this is one of the best charts I have seen in a long time. I could not help but share it with you. What you're seeing here, I need to move myself away so you can see this. What you're seeing here in the light blue is, this is the inflation. So they wanted to make sure that that was the main thing you could see, was this inflation rate. And then we have the federal funds rate in orange. The orange line is the federal funds rate. Okay. And then we've got the 10-year yield weekly average on the rate on that as well, which is the purple line. Now, okay, what are we looking at here? Well, we're going all the way back, way back to 1960 here. But where I'd like to have you take a look, where I want you to start, is here in about 1983, where we maxed out on all of this, okay? Inflation crazy, the federal funds rate crazy, 20.6, and the 10-year yield was 15.68. So what are we talking about in terms of today? Well, you know, a lot lower. But I want you to see how slow, how long it took for that rate to get down. It wasn't until we got into the dot-com bust in around 2000 that we began to see these rates go under 5%. So it took all the way from 1983 all the way it's like a tale of two economies. We had an economy, by the way, the economy was going gangbusters during this time. It was one of the best economies ever, and yet look at these rates. Look at what we were paying. And the inflation was not that bad, but we're paying really big time interest all during this gangbuster period. Great growing economy. Well, then we dropped into the less than 5% level here. And there we are, like another economy here for another 20 years. And then finally, this inflation spike. We got this inflation spike right here. Notice something here that's taking place. The Fed followed. The interest rates, the Treasuries followed, the Fed followed. This is what everybody talks about, how late they were, how completely late they were to respond. If you look all through every one of these, you see that the Fed was ahead of what was taking place. But you'll also notice that even here, where there was high, very high real rates of payment by the Fed and by the Treasuries, where there was a big difference between the inflation rate and the interest rate that people were receiving, it didn't kill the economy. The economy did just fine. So all the worries that we have that the Fed will stay too high too long, it depends on what the rest of the economy is doing. It's not all about the Fed and the Treasuries and the interest rates that people are paying. And as you can see, if we stay around 5%, that's historically very, very low. You'd have to go back, way back into the 60s to see that 5% level again. So I thought this was an incredibly interesting visual of what has taken place over all that time. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to go back to my story and what we have here. Okay, so from Market Watch, key details. A measure that looks at how consumers feel about the economy right now slipped. This is the consumer confidence slipped to 138.2 from 138.6 in the prior month. That was a pretty small slip, but it's been down and it's continuing to be down. But a confidence gauge that looks ahead 6 months rose to 77.8 from 72.7. That was a nice big raise. However, for the past 3 months, the future expectations index has been below the 80 mark. That often signals a recession ahead. I don't think it's signaling a recession ahead. I think what it's reflecting is the high prices that people are paying. And I'm not alone anymore on that. I said it. I don't know. I did see a headline. I think I was responding to a headline that I saw that just made it go like, yes, that's what it is. And now a lot of people are picking up on that in headlines that I'm seeing, that people are looking at the price that they're paying. They're not thinking about the fact that now for the last 3 or 4 months, it's not going up very much. What they're looking at is, oh, compared to what I was paying 2 years ago, this is nuts. Fast food, do you know that you can spend $15 for lunch in a fast food place without even getting dessert? Anyway, about 2/3 of the consumers say a recession is somewhat or very likely in the next 12 months. But gosh, 12 months. The Fed was speaking today. There was 3 regional heads making statements. You had one saying that it looked like things were going in the right direction and that it looks like what the Fed has done is worked. And then you had one that says, well, I want to see more details. It's looking okay, kind of dovish, but not terribly dovish. And then you had one that says, I'm ready to hike if necessary. Only she was a female, so her voice would have been a lot higher. But anyway, the market is definitely in neutral right now and looking for direction. But gold and the 10 years are both raking in the dough. They are going like this. So those two are doing very, very well right now. Gary Black says, I believe the Fed will start cutting rates as soon as the GDP growth drops to 1%, which could happen as soon as the first quarter of 2024. That favors long duration growth stocks with strong balance sheets that could withstand a recession. Who would that be? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, some big EV car company. Anyway, so that's what Gary Black is saying. I think that it won't necessarily have to get down to 1% on the GDP. I think it'll be a combination of that and inflation. If the inflation numbers are really low and we're seeing a decent drop in the overall GDP and we're seeing some softness, continuing softness in labor, I think they'll start dropping. And I think they'll start dropping in March. That's my number. That's what I think is going to happen. All right. So let's take a look at where the numbers are right now. We'll start, of course, with Tesla. Tesla in the after hours is now up to 06. It has been just kind of steadily going higher and higher in the after hours. Now let's take a look at what's happening with the rest of the numbers. We will start with the, breaking news. Apple is trying to unwind its, never mind. You don't want to know that. All right. Sometimes the breaking news, if I see it, I'm going to tell you. All right. Bonds. All right. Here we are. Are you ready? Whoops. Slid off here. Down another 1.2 basis points to 4.324. We are only 7 basis points away from my goal of 4.25. Now, I did a pretty deep dive on that earlier today, and I found that there is really no significant break at 4.25. There's been a little bit of, it could get hung up around 4.25, but quite frankly, there's nothing that's going to really stop it from going to 3.25. Yes, there's stuff around the 4, but really it's going to go to 3.25 with no resistance at all. The Fed is not going to like that. It was mentioned again by one of those Fed members today, saying we can't count on Treasuries and the bond business. We can't count on those rates staying high to keep driving down inflation. That is not, it's not, yeah, he's seeing what I'm seeing. It's just not going to happen. Oil is up 22 cents in the aftermarket, still sitting at, or the pre-market, still sitting at $76.63. We've got the gold still going up, $2,044. If you bought gold about 3 weeks ago, you are a very happy person. Copper up another 0.22 at 3.8. we've got the dollar coming down again, which is not shocking because the bonds are going down. And here's the pre-market. The pre-market is sitting at the Dow up 18, that's 0.05. The S&P up $1.25, 0.03%. And the NASDAQ is up $3, which is 0.02%. So everybody heading up. But as I said, the equity markets have been flat. I think they want to know what's going to happen Thursday. They're mostly interested in the CPE. I'm sure they have some interest in what's going to happen with regard to the oil prices, and none of them care anything about what's going to happen to Tesla, except for those people that are investing in Tesla. And we will see what happens on Thursday with that. Okay, here's the card for Brian White's video from earlier today. You want to grab that card, take a look at that. If you didn't already, I mean, thousands and thousands, I forget, it was like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8,000 people have already seen it. So I highly recommend you go take a look at that one. I'm going to reach over and grab my little table here, and I am going to, you got to get it. Okay, I know the $20 deal is off, but at $25, it's still a fantastic deal. If you buy just 2, you're only $2.50 away from where the special was. You get 2 for $45. That's $22.50. If you buy 3, you're even closer. You're now under $22 a piece. So quite frankly, the special was good, and way over 150 units, I think, were sold as a result of the special just in like 5 days. But if you didn't buy it yet, it really isn't too late. You're not going to be spending that much more. Besides, it'll help produce the show. So paypal.me /Randy Kirk, all in lowercase letters, 1 for 25, 2 for 45, and 3 for 65. And then if you want more than that, 10, I think is, I forget. Look down below in the description. It'll give you all the details. If you're outside the country, you know what to do. Add another $20 and always tell me, camo or stainless. Camo or stainless. It'll save both of us some additional time in going back and forth with emails. And so one last time, let's take a look at where, oops, I messed it up here. We've got still the same. Tesla is still at $2.06. So I think that is all I've got for you right now. So let me say, it's been great talking to you. See you all day. Anytime you look up, it'll be me again, putting up another video. See you tomorrow.